Hi guys. So today I was going to clean this phone off a little bit, and then I thought this might make an interesting video. And I thought we could look at this. We learn about the telephone booklet, which is just kind of fun, ephemeral. And then this old telephone, and there's a little, I don't know what got on it, a little sticky on here and some dust, so I just thought we'll clean it off. But maybe we'll start just talking about basic telephone. By the way, today I'm wearing you can hear it, a down vest because it's all of 50 Fahrenheit outside right now, which is not cold, but for some reason I've been freezing all day. Like I can't get warmed up. So I put on my down vest just to kind of warm my core. So just ignore the swooshy sound of that, or maybe you like the swooshy sound, I don't know. Anyway, let's just start with the basics of a telephone. I know that there are people on here who've used telephones plenty and know exactly how to use it. But I also can see that there are a lot of younger people, and I know from my kids and their friends, this is not something that you just know how to use, even though to some of us it feels like something we know how to do. But so the basics of it is, well, first of all, this is a rotary desk phone, and rotary means it has this wheel on it, and they also made push button desk phones, and then they made rotary and push button wall phones, which are the ones that hang from the wall, and they all have a cradle for the receiver, but the one on the wall, you'd hang, the cradle goes this way and you'd hang it in the cradle that way, and this one, the cradle is like this for the receiver. So first you'd pick up the phone and you'd hear the dial tone, which would sound like doo, kind of like that, maybe a little higher pitch. And if you hear that, then you know you're good to start dialing the number. The other sound you might hear is what we had growing up, a party line. So each telephone had lines. I don't even know how to explain this because I'm not totally sure how it worked, and if I think you could pay extra to have a private line, but our family, we got the cheaper service, and so we had a party line. So sometimes you'd pick up the phone and you'd hear some old lady talking to her friend, and you'd have to just hang it up. And then 20 minutes later, you'd pick up the phone, she'd still be talking, and then she could hear you breathing. And she'd go, "Get off the phone." And then 10 minutes later, you'd pick up and go, "Please, can I use the phone? I want to call my friend." So it's kind of a weird thing. Like, you'd actually hear other people. And you were supposed to be polite and say, "Okay, I'll get off the line and let somebody else use the line." But the lady we had was always yelled at us. Anyway, okay, so you pick up the phone, and this is what lets the phone know I want to use it. When this is up, then the phone's in service, or the line's in use. So now hopefully you're getting beep, which is your dial tone. So then you dial the phone number, and let's pretend like we're dialing this phone number that's on this, which is actually this phone, whoever owned it previously, this was their phone number. So that would be your phone number, your home phone number. But we'll just pretend like that's who we're dialing. So you pick it up, you hear beep, and if you leave it off the hook too long without dialing, it'll start to go beep, 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 really loud to let you know your phone's off the hook. And that's why in movies, when they show people just take their phone off the hook, that didn't really, I mean, eventually it would cut off, but they never show that beep, beep, which I remember. Anyway, okay. So to dial the number on the phone, you, assuming we don't have to do a 1 because, all right, we'll do a 1 because nowadays you'd always have to do 1, I think. So you go 1, and then you let it go all the way back, and and then you put in the area code, which is 4, 1, 2. So you always have to go all the way to here. You go from the number to the, I don't even know what you call that little thing there, and then let go and let it completely go back. So now we're on 5, 6, 3, 2, 8, 8, 6. And then you'd hold this to your ear, and it should go ring-a-ding-a-ding, ring-a-ding-a-ding. But sometimes it would go bam, 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 bam. And that is a busy signal. And if you get a busy signal, nothing you can do. You gotta hang up the phone. And here's something I noticed when kids would use the phone at our house. First of all, they wouldn't always let the number go all the way back before trying to put in the next one. So they'd go like 8, 2, and you have to let it completely go back so it, resets. And the other thing, they'd finish a call and then set the phone down on the table. But to hang up the phone, and these are young kids, like 8 years old, so I'm not, to hang up the phone, you have to put it back in the cradle. And if you had a wall phone, you'd have to put it back in the cradle because the cradle moves, and that's what hangs it up. So that's how you hang it up. So that's basic phone use. Later on, they got something called call waiting. So if you're on the phone and you'd be talking, it would go click, 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 and you'd know somebody's trying to call you. And then what you could do is click this once, and that would switch you to the other line, and you could say, hello, yeah, I'm talking to somebody else, and then click back. I never had that because it was an extra charge. So our phone did not have that, but I do remember friends having it, and it always bugged me because, I'm talking to you. Don't click away. Anyway, okay, so this phone is a pretty nice one. It's all black, but also, instead of having a clear plate here, it has a black plate, which is kind of nice. And on the bottom of these old phones, you can look, and if you see right here where it says 1259, that's actually the date it was made, in December of 1959. And this turns up and lowers the volume of the ringer. The problem is, with today's phone lines being digital, or whatever they are they digital? See? You guys know more about that. I know more about the old stuff. I think they're digital. Anyway, if you plug a phone in, it used to be you'd get an electric charge through the wall. That was enough to ring the phone. So when the phone call came in, it sent a charge in, and it would go ding. But now, because of the signals, you can still use a phone like this. You can still talk on it, but the ring either won't ring, or it'll be like ding, like it's a sad, sorry ring. So that's the only problem. It's hard, and you can't really test the rings on these phones anymore. Although, honestly, they probably all work because there's not a whole lot. You can take these old phones apart pretty easily and look inside. It's sort of a simple design, really. So this one has a few, surface scratches, but it's in pretty good condition. So I thought maybe take our handy dandy Windex and just sort of, oh my gosh, I'm running out. I've actually been running out, and I added some water to it. Never remember to buy it. Come on, Windex. There we go. Gotta get underneath. ones is actually this piece, because people with hair gel or hairspray or whatever used them and they'd get caked in gunk if they didn't clean them. But this one I already cleaned and polished one time. And you can take these off like that and then clean them. And you can pull that piece out too and clean underneath it. Get any grime out of there. This one too. So you can clean that off. Actually, that one might need a little bit of cleaning. See how simple the design is. You can just put that anywhere. Oops, and those two. We'll click onto there. This must be a replacement piece. Look, this one's dated 10/12 of 66. So somebody replaced that at some point, I guess. And usually you have to clean the inside of that, but I already cleaned that. I cleaned this one up like a few years ago, I think. It's been on a shelf. There we go. I gotta get this sticky. I don't know what got sticky on here. Somebody must have put something with tape on it. Something. There we go. Came right off. No problemo. This says here, it says Bell Systems Western Electric. Yeah, this one's a little step above. See how this is black? Usually they're like a clear plastic. I think this one looks a little nicer. But this one has these, which is a hard wire to the phone, and a lot of them, most of anything really above 1960 has a, I can't think what you call it. It's like a little clip and you push it in. But you can switch these out pretty easily if you want to actually use it. Okay. So let's see what they tell us in this. We learn about the telephone. You think we'll learn anything? Hopefully. We learn about the telephone, a story of communications. That looks just like our telephone. First, let's see how man sent messages. One way to send a message to your friend is to run and tell him. Men also sent messages beating drums, riding on horses, smoke signals, homing pigeons, and by the sun rays with a mirror before telephone. And then came the telephone. Mr. Bell, he was born in Scotland. When he was a young man, he came to the United States, where he met Thomas Watson, who became his friend and worked with him on ways to send the sound of the human voice over electric wire. One night, Mr. Bell and Mr. Watson attached two strange-looking devices to the ends of a long electric wire. They then strung the wire from Mr. Bell's workroom to his bedroom. The room was far enough away from each other so they couldn't hear each other's voices in the usual way. By accident, Mr. Bell spilled some dangerous acid on himself and said almost without thinking, "Mr. Watson, come here, I want you." A few moments later, Watson ran into the room and told Mr. Bell he had heard every word very clearly. Soon after the telephone was invented, Mr. Bell said that one day all parts of the country would be connected by telephone. You know, I don't know the whole story of this, but one of my kids was telling me the other day that this story was sort of, he heard that Bell just bought the rights to the telephone and didn't invent it at all. And then he made all the money and got all the, fame for it. But I don't know. So did Mr. Watson invent it? I don't know. Anyway, let's see. The second telephone, a box telephone, a wall set, an early dial telephone, a touch tone telephone, look at this fancy thing, a picture phone. The newest one, it lets you see the person to whom you are talking. In 1964. I should look on eBay for that. I wonder if there are any of those in the world. It's like FaceTime. How we communicate. There are many different ways we can communicate with each other. But the oldest way is still the best. People talking together. Ain't that the truth? All right, the telephone brings everybody together. You can call home, the repairman, storekeepers, the fireman, the policeman, and the doctor. How we use the telephone. Okay, let's see if I instructed you accurately. Making the call. Find the correct number. Look up the number if you're not sure. Write it down if you call it often. Listen for the dial tone. Before you dial the number, listen until you hear a steady hum. This is the dial tone. Dial correctly. With your finger firmly in the hole, pull the dial around to the finger stop. That's what that's called, a finger stop. Remove your finger and let the dial spin back. Do this until you have dialed the number. If you get a wrong number, say you're sorry, hang up, check the number, and dial again. Oh yeah, that used to happen a lot. You get wrong numbers a lot. Hold telephone correctly. Hold the transmitter in front of your mouth about an inch away. Hold the receiver against your ear. Tell who you are. When the telephone is answered, say right away who you are and to whom you want to speak. Speak clearly. Hang up gently after both you and your friend have said goodbye. Oh yeah. I said, don't slam the phone. Hang it up gently. Although I'm positive the person on the other end can't tell the difference. It's probably just to protect the phone. One thing about phones, oftentimes I think back in the day, they were kind of on rental from Bell Telephone. I think that's right. I should ask my mom about that, but I think like her phones were, because they would come in every now and then and service them or replace them. I don't know. I think that's right. Receiving the call. Answer promptly. When the telephone rings, answer it by saying hello. Speak courteously and listen carefully. If there's a message, write down the caller's name and number. 2 things to watch when we dial. Watch your O. The letter O. Oh yeah, that's right. That's the other thing. There are letters on here. So places could still spell out the name of their company and you put it by letter. The letter O is with M and O. The number 0 is right after 9. So people were accidentally hitting that instead of 0. Wow, I hadn't thought of that. And that's the other thing you could call. All you do is dial 0 and an operator would come on and you'd say, operator, I need the number for Joe's Pharmacy, and then she could sometimes give it to you or connect you through. And when they first came out with 911, the reason why it was 911, I think, my stomach's growling, sorry, is that they wanted one number kind of hard to get to. So children couldn't accidentally just do it. So they made the 9 way over here. So you have an emergency, you have to wait for that. And then the other 2 are the quickest ones. So instead of doing 111, they made it 911. So it couldn't easily be accidentally dialed. Watch your eye. Be careful about those other 2 lookalikes, the letter I and the number 1. Yeah, okay. How we get help in an emergency. Dial 0 for operator. If you need the police, hospital, or fire department and don't know the number, the pictures on these 2 pages show you how. So, you listen for a dial tone, dial 0, bring your finger all the way around to the finger stop, and release it. Tell the operator who you are, where you are, and why you need help. Yeah, it's good to know if you're a kid. Telephone manners. If you talk with someone in your mouth, that's not right. If you talk with something in your mouth, you won't make much more sense than an elephant with his mouth full of peanuts. Always speak clearly. Look who is monkeying around with the telephone. No boy or girl would do that. You know you might put it out of order. Then you couldn't call anyone. Don't hog the phone. Somebody else might need to use it. Also, somebody might be trying to call you. Don't be slow to answer. Actually, that's something I remember, that my mom was running a business out of the house for a while. She was a lawyer, and she had her own practice out of the house. And she would say, "You can't be on the phone. I'm waiting on a call. I'm waiting on calls." And so, I was a teenager, or 12 probably, and I couldn't have any of my friends call. I couldn't call any of my friends. If they called, I'd pick it up and I'd have to say, "I have to get off the line. My mom's waiting on calls." It stunk, because that was your only way to communicate with people. Don't be slow to answer, like this sleepy bear. Whoever is calling will think you're not home. If you're calling someone, let the telephone ring 8 to 10 times to give them time to answer. 8 to 10 times. The lion may be the king of the beast, but he wouldn't be much good on the telephone. You don't roar into the transmitter. You just speak with your normal voice. Going back to this 8 to 10 times, I can remember being out in my backyard, in the garage, playing basketball out in the driveway or whatever, and hearing the phone ring and just tearing off to get to the phone. My sister and I'd both think it was for us because we're so popular, and we'd be running inside. Good, because there was no answering machine in our house. If you didn't answer it, you'd always wonder, who could it have been? The cute boy in homeroom? Maybe it could have been. Good manners are good habits to have. They make life a lot nicer. It's especially important to have good telephone manners because people can't see you. They only hear your voice, unless you're using a picture phone. Wow. How to use the telephone book. Let's think about letters in the alphabet as soldiers marching to form names for the telephone book. First, we make them line up for a name just the way we say it. For example, Robert Martin. But in the telephone book, the last name comes first. So let's make the letters change to Martin Robert. When you want to find Robert Martin in the telephone book, first turn to the pages to the M's. Then look on the upper corner of each page for Martin, or another name with the first few letters the same. Go down the list until you find Martin. If there's more than one Martin, you'll find Robert in the correct alphabetical order among them. I was doing some volunteer work with the Humane Society near here, and they had a new vet tech in, and they asked her to do some filing, and I was in there cleaning the cage, and she told me she didn't know how to do that, and I was talking to her, and she didn't know how to do alphabetical order at all. And so I was explaining it to her, and I was surprised that you'd make it through high school and whatever schooling vet techs go through and never learn alphabetical order. So I do recommend everybody learn that, because it's kind of important. So you go by not just the first, you go by M, but then the second letter, so M-A. So then you're going to look M-A and then M, B, M-C, M-D, and then it'll go to the third letter. So, yeah, good to know. What Mr. Bell knew about sound waves. You can't see sound waves any more than you can see a picture in this space. That is because sound waves affect your ears, not your eyes. Although I saw a video where they had such a loud bass sound that the whole place, you could see it like move. So, I don't know. Anyway, so they talk about sound waves. And then here is how it works. You talk, it goes into the diaphragm, and there are carbon grains in there. Oh, okay. And then it goes through a transmitter into the telephone building where this woman has plugged into the different people. And then it goes into the receiver, which is electromagnetic, and it comes out through that diaphragm. Well, there you go. It's amazing what inventors can figure out. Thank God for science. Things to do. Make your own museum of communications. Include things as a letter, drum mirror, toy telephone, telegram. Write a short play or story about using the telephone in an emergency. Make 2 tin can telephones by punching a hole in the bottom of 2 cans. Put a long, heavy cord through both holes, not both ends, so the cord connects the cans but doesn't pull through the holes. Pulling the string tight, talk into one can while a friend listens with the other. Though this is not the way a real telephone works, it shows how sound can travel through a solid material, the string. I remember doing that as a kid. When talking with a friend on the telephone, show him how hard it is to hear if the transmitter is not right in front of your mouth. Do this by counting 1, 2, 3, 4 again and again while slowly lowering the transmitter down towards your chin. Then let him show you. See how hard it is to hear? People used to hold the phone there and put it in their shoulder, but instead of putting it on their mouth, which is, they put it down below their chin. I used to see that a lot. And then some kid wrote the name of all their friends and all their phone numbers in here. Let's see what their friends' names are. Looks like Ruth, Balta, Caldwell, Corny, Entris, Escott, Evans. This must be last names. Tayeo, Holy, Keeney, Korsmeyer, Mercer, Mosette, Nesbrit, Shefchens, Smith, Schenkel, Smokeline. Oh, that's a cool name. Idern. And printed in 1970. So, there you go. Now, we all know how to use a telephone. Fun. All right, well, let me know if there's anything else you want to know about the telephone.